G'day, Aussie Bonsai Bloke, here you go. Today we're going to be working on a Japanese red pine. I think it's about time of year to work on it in April. I listened to Andrew Edge on the Modern Bonsai Podcast. By the way, guys, Modern Bonsai Podcast, Josh at bonsai-en does that podcast. So if you guys are on some sort of like listening to podcasts, go and tune in. And if you haven't listened to podcasts, tune in anyway, because guess what? Aussie Bonsai Bloke did a bit of an episode with Josh on Modern Bonsai, and I don't know. It is what it is. We had a chat. I was pretty nervous, but I, had a pretty big conversation. So go on there, check out Josh's podcast, Modern Bonsai, and also check out his online store, bonsai-en. So that was pretty cool. So I'm on there as one of the episodes of the Bonsai Bloke. I reckon it goes for nearly 2 hours, 20 minutes. So go and check it out, and I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, back to this. We're going to work on this Japanese red pine. So according to Andrew Edge, okay, so what he does, or says to do, is sort of, mid-December, you go along and cut everything that grew in spring back to nothing, cut all the candles off, even the unopened ones, cut them off. And then you wait again with these multi flush pine. This is the multi flush, like Japanese black pine. And then you wait again until April, which is mid-autumn, before you work on it again. You don't touch it, you let it grow, and you don't fertilize that whole time. From when you cut all the needles off completely until autumn, when they harden off, you don't fertilize at all. Now, what I'm going to do now is come in and cut back to 2 branches, or lots of candles, which are branches, per any one spot. And after this, I believe I can go back and start fertilizing. So you don't fertilize the whole time, but bit of a disclaimer here, I forgot about that. And I've actually fertilized it, and as you can see, it's got ridiculous growth on it, and quite a few shoots, probably a little bit too long, and that's my fault, because as I was fertilizing everything else, I was like, yeah, I'll just put some on this one as well while I'm walking past, and she's growing pretty strong. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose the weaker shoots at the top. So each spot has anywhere from 3 to 5 candles coming out from one spot, or branches. The candle ends up into a branch, so they are branches, even though you say candle. Wow. This one has 7 on there. So anyway, the fact that you got a 7 on there doesn't matter, because we cut it back, cut all the candles back. I had 7 sprout, you let it grow till now, and now you go back to only 2. And then from there, buds will form on the ends of those 2 that you choose, the 2 branches or candles, whatever you want to say. Buds will form on there, and in spring this year, but later on, after we're out of winter, you're going to get some really crazy growth. You let that grow, cut it back in mid-December again, or I guess it's the start of summer really. So start of summer, you cut all those candles completely off, even the little ones that didn't open, you nick them, and then you leave it until now. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. it's quite simple when you get your head around it. Only 2 times per year. Completely cut every candle off start of summer, and in mid-autumn you select the ones you want to keep. And also on top of that, the spring, I think it's the spring, the summer one that you do in December, which is, start of our summer, you pluck the needles, whatever's left, you pluck it back to about 6 to 8 pairs, but this time in autumn, you pluck it back to about 10 pairs of needles per the 2 branches or candles that you're going to keep. And as a bit of a tip, he messaged me and said that you basically, if you pull off the bottom needles and the top needles and leave the side needles, that's generally pretty close to getting back to 10 needles. But anyway, so Japanese red pine is actually quite a prickly tree. I never realised how prickly it was. And this is the only pine that I own. I don't own any other pines, but don't worry, I'm going to make sure that I do get some more pines, because I actually got this one as an experiment because I was too not overwhelmed, but just intimidated, I guess, by a pine, because I had no idea. And since I've had this one, well, there hasn't really been an issue. This thing's just grown nuts. I'll bring it in on a bit of a close-up before we get going. Okay, so this is a seedling, 7 years ago seedling. And she's already barking up. So that's the base. Here's the needles. Look at this. So many branches to choose from. Alright, so we're going to start cutting. Let's cut first and worry about everything else later. But, she's looking pretty good. Probably there somewhere will end up being the front. I think it gives you a good, bit of an angle off the top. Some more angles all the way up. And then I guess, your apex sort of comes towards you here. Sort of leans that way. So it'll probably end up being a front there somewhere, I would say. Maybe you can imagine the wind's blowing this way and pushing it all out that way. But anyway, let's get to cleaning it up. So guys, in case you missed what I was saying, the podcast with Josh is up now. Go and check it out, Modern Bonsai Podcast. Check it out. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to keep the shortest, smallest growth, especially on top, and maybe go for some longer growth on the bottom. So, here we have 7 or 8 branches coming from one location. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start by just chopping off the longest ones, I think. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chopped off. And there's still 2 left. So that's the smallest 2. Wow. So there was 9. in that one spot. So you can see how strong it is. Wow. And generally you do not cut back there. You don't cut it back halfway, you just select your two. So that's the problem with me fertilizing it when I shouldn't have. It's elongated and got a little bit too strong. So that's my fault. So look at that. Okay, so we'll do the same everywhere. I'll choose two. Generally the weaker ones. So we're just cutting off the stronger ones, keeping the weaker ones. Because it's the top of the tree and they're apically dominant, so we want to keep all the weaker ones and slow it down a bit, and on the bottom we'll keep the probably the strong ones on the bottom, but we'll have to wait and see. It's quite a simple thing, really. Just go and choose the two weaker ones, cut the rest off. It's not a hard and fast rule to keep the two weak ones either. If you've got 5 coming and the 2 weak ones are where my little finger and my thumb is, don't go and chop all those 3 off, because you're going to end up with this big, bullhorn effect here where you got 2. So you also want to try and keep some sort of an angle. So if this one's a close runner up to that one, cut those 3 off, and then you got a nice angle for the new branching. If that makes sense. You don't want to keep a big club foot or something like that. That's new branching. So yeah, I'll get into it. I'll probably do it on Hyperlapse. I just feel like having a nice relax and work through it all, and it's going to take a while. So already on the ground, you can start to see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to run it on Hyperlapse and work through it. Cheers. G'day guys, welcome back. Had you guys on Hyperlapse. Hope you enjoyed the music on the Hyperlapse. Pretty happy with how this tree's turning out. It's very, very thinned out now. Got rid of a lot of stuff. Trying to do it to 10 or 12 pairs per area, but to be honest, I didn't count, and I guess what I've sort of done is just visually look at the whole thing and have it reasonably well balanced as far as it looks evenly thinned out through the whole thing, if you know what I mean. I really don't like that one. That's got to go. It's just too big. But yeah, evenly thinned out through the whole tree is basically what I've done, I think. Yeah, pretty happy with how it's turned out. And this is the amount of stuff that I got out of it. You can see just huge amount of needles and stuff that we've taken out. So we've taken out probably over half, well over half probably. And because it's fairly even here, as far as the distribution of all the needles, we should hopefully get a fairly even growth pattern through the whole tree. And I must say, since I last did it in the first week or second week of summer, it did actually put out pretty even growth over the whole tree. A little bit stronger on top, but the bottom branches didn't suffer either. They're still looking pretty good. Another thing I will say is they always recommend leaving some old needles. So you can see these darker green needles, I've left them as well. Some of those, because that has a hormone in it which just helps the tree out. So you can see there's some old needles, some new needles, and it's just pretty well evenly thinned out through the whole lot. There'll be some areas in here for sure that I haven't done properly, and I'm only an amateur, especially with pines. I have no idea how to work on. I'm just going by what I've interpreted on the podcast, Modern Bonsai Podcast. Remember, you want to watch me, go and have a look, or listen to me. But I'm only interpreting what I heard from Andrew Edge, and I might have misinterpreted or got it wrong. So this is not gospel. Everything can be different, you know, you can do it many different ways, I'm sure, but this is it. Only 2 workings in 1 year, and that's how I'm going to treat this one. And at the moment, I think you must say she's actually starting to divide and branch up pretty well. I'll give you guys a spin on the way out, but yeah, pretty happy with how it's going. That bloody beauty. I'll just give you a quick spin now, just for the heck of it. You can see how that trunk's really barking up. It's pretty cool. So this is a red pine. Front, well, you know, that could be a front. Anywhere where it gives you the most movement in the trunk, that can't be. So pretty well that, or that, I would say, as a front. That way gives you good movement through the whole thing, or this way it also gives you good movement up into the branching. Either or, it doesn't matter for now. And the root spread on this, I always thought it was hard to get good roots on a pine, but the root spread on that, there is roots radiating out everywhere here. It actually needs a repot. It's getting tough to put the spike in for the dripper. And I put a few needles back in top, act as a bit of a weed suppressant. They say pine needles act as a bit of a weed suppressant, so we'll see what happens. So I'll put some in the top. All good. No worries. Let's give you a spin and some music on the way out. Cheers for watching Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell your mates about the channel. You know, give me some recommendations on stuff you want to see. And yeah, really appreciate all your comments, all your support, guys. Love all your comments. And just really happy. So the feedback has just been awesome. And catch you next time. And don't forget to tune in to Modern Bonsai and listen to Aussie Bonsai Bloke and Josh have a chat. Cheers. Spin on the way.